need that every time I walk into a room from now on. Welcome back, everyone. Can you believe it's time for our last session of the day already? We've loved the activity on Slido and LinkedIn. Keep those questions coming throughout this session. We should have 5 minutes or so at the end to ask a few, so make sure you get them in throughout this talk. So closing us out for the day is friend of Reward Gateway Eden Red, Chief Energy Officer at PTHR, and 2022's most influential thinker in HR, Perry Timms. So please, let's give him a huge round of applause as he enters the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wow. So there's this story, right? When I used to work in an office, there was about 40 of the team. If I'd had a really stressy call or a bit of a narky sort of morning, I would go out into the middle of the office and do a forward roll. So I understand that happened here today, didn't it? Yeah. What that did, my team knew, like, oh, he just had a duff one. Like, they knew that, right? That wasn't to say don't go anywhere near him. That was for them to kind of go, oh, bless him. Shall we look after him? Shall we care for him? Shall we go and get him some pick and mix from the shop next door? Or actually, you get pick and mix downstairs. Did you notice that? Yeah. And it doesn't even cost you £45 like it does in the cinema. So well done for staying this late. Like, how good's today been for you? Yeah, some good nods there. How good's it been online, wherever you are? I can hear them all clicking and clapping and stuff. So thank you online. Right, let's get into it then. I'm going to talk to you today about the fact that I don't like this phrase, do more with less, right? Shall I tell you why? Because it is lazy AF, right? It is genuinely where people are going, I'm not even sure what the strategy is. I know. Let's put more on them. Let's lean on them a bit more. Let's almost make work some kind of punishing extreme sport. Right? So, and that's not good enough. So, this was a book that came out a few years ago, and I thought, what an interesting concept. Daniel Ben-Ami is a journalist and an economist, and he wrote this book, Ferraris for All. Now, you can see on the picture there, that's not really a Ferrari, is it? However, we've probably seen those internet memes where people build like wooden Lamborghinis or whatever it is, right? The concept here was supporting economic growth. It was almost saying, let's not demonize economic growth, actually, because economic growth is what we can use as a vehicle, pardon the pun, to make ourselves more better and prosperous and have choice and opportunity. So he was saying that arguing against it is harmful, that it spurs on human growth, as you can see there. And he was saying, actually, it is about widespread prosperity rather than austerity or limits on wealth. Now, I'm not here to back up billionaires because there's too many of them and they are created at too quick a rate, right? And there's an enormous mass of people who, if you add together their economic wealth, it equals about 7 of the highest earning people in the world. 7 versus like several billion. Like, I don't know about you, but that is not equity, is it? That feels incredibly unfair. So I'm not arguing against Ben-Ami's concept here. I'm saying that wealth can be very perversive. And it can create a system that people almost just get into the concept of wealth to the point that it's greed, right? And do you know what also tends to come with greed? Power. And what are we seeing in the world today? Greed and power, lots of it, too much of it. Anyway, so where he got a lot of criticism is that he kind of dissed the green agenda and the climate aspects of it at the time. So a lot of people attacked Ben-Ami's work at the time, going, you cannot ignore the planet, right? So he was quite provocative, but the theory of him saying, if everybody is more wealthy, it's okay, that isn't at any cost. Just like saying, do more with less is an okay thing to do, because that to me says at any cost. I don't care about the consequences. I don't care about the squeeze. I don't care about the fact that at the end of the day, you kind of shut the laptop lid or log off or swipe out and go, what on earth did I do today? It was just a mush of stuff in my head. A little tiny story I'll tell you about a leadership team that invited me in to do some work with them about progressive org design. I've just been teaching org design before I came here today. I love org design. It's brilliant. And so I said to them, what can I do for you? They're like, well, we've got really talented people. We want to line them all up right. I said, okay, that's for the organisation. What about you? What can I do for you? And they all sort of looked at each other and kind of went, I don't really know. I said, well, let me have a look at your diaries. And I had a look at your diaries. Guess what I saw? Block, 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 block. No space, no time, no nothing. So I'm like, okay. I said, I'll tell you what I'd like to do, even though you haven't asked me to do. I'd like you to work with a completely open diary. And do you know what they did? They cheered. And then that didn't last very long because then they went, oh. But like, what about? Anyway, I compromised with them. And what I said was, can you clear your diary of all your internal meetings? Keep your external meetings. Just clear them of your internal meetings. Just as an estimate, what would that give you back? They reckoned about 60 or 70% of their time would be free. I'm like, wow, you're spending a lot of time servicing your own machine, aren't you? Anyway, the long and the short of that is they daren't do it. They desperately wanted to, but they just couldn't unhook themselves from an addiction. And so things like that are where we get locked into this more with less crap. So anyway, let's move on. There are lots of things out there that we can use, but as George Box rightly says, all models are wrong, but some are useful. So whatever model we're applying to the situation that we're in, whether it is how can we be more efficient, how can we actually reorganize things so that we're reducing waste and we're channeling effort and so on, and just look after our people in a more balanced way. There'll be models out there that will tell you what to do, but they're probably wrong, but they might be a bit useful. Just keep that in mind. And then I'm kind of doing top trumps or whatever of people who are wise and also, by the looks of it, old and grey, but don't worry about that. I'm going to correct that as well. We are trapped in the mental models of ourselves and the world around us. Because as John Maynard Keynes says, it's not about new ideas. They're not bad, but the difficulty is escaping the old ones. We get super comfortable, even if it's not particularly effective. We're almost like a little Stockholm syndrome within ourselves of things we know don't work that well, but at least we know them. Do you know what I mean? That kind of theory. John Maynard Keynes also said in the 1930s that by the year 2000, we would only have to work 15 hours a week, he said. Yeah, don't know about you, but it's like 15 hours a day, right? How has that happened? How? With labour-saving devices and technological support. And I don't know about you, but a bot you can outsource some stuff to. ChatGPT is my sidekick. How have we got into the situation where we have no more time to give? So how can we do more with less? It's a complete oxymoron. So, yeah, we've got to escape the old idea. So I used a bot to help me come up with a book cover, if there was such a book, about doing more. Look at it. Demonic, satanic, it's awful, isn't it, right? Capitalist nastiness, human oppression, whatever you want to call it. That's what it came up with. I mean, I sort of prompted it a little bit towards that, but I didn't encourage it to go this dark, right? But it did. It did, right? And do you know what it said to me? This is ChatGPT after I'd done that. It's like, is that okay, or do you want to get a bit harsher on it? I'm like, you tell me, right? You tell me whether you think, actually, it should be harsher. I didn't bother with that bit. But I always say thank you to my bots, because you never know, Terminator and all that. But I then asked it to do this, and it gave us a beautifully, almost like Lord of the Rings epic type book, Prosperity for All. Now you say those words, not Ferraris for all, prosperity for all. It makes a bit of a difference, right? And that doesn't mean billionaires for all. Prosperity does not mean a stack of cash you just look at and go, what a lovely stack of cash. What prosperity means is I can choose and do and feel and have all the brilliance the world has to offer for me. Abundance even, right? So that's different to do more with less, isn't it? It's very much more a philosophical shift that we can have prosperity for all if my sense is we don't have do more with less, we do better however. That's all we need to do. Do better however. Right? Not at any cost, not at the detriment of us, not at the behest of us selling our souls, but I haven't met anybody yet who doesn't want to do better. Most people will testify to that without prompt. not many people say, yeah, I just want to be more crap at things. They don't do that, do they? Unless it's making tea for the office. Have you noticed that? If you make crap tea in the office, you never get asked to make the tea again. That's the one exception to that, right? So anyway, so prosperity for all. So just to break the whole cycle of grey-haired old men, Maya Angelou supports what I've said and perhaps inspired what I've said. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. That, I think, applies to the systems of work, because when I go and get asked by companies to come and help them out, sometimes some of the stuff I'm saying is, tell me about your rituals, like your email use and your meetings and stuff. And then I say to them, what if I could help you gain a couple of hours a day? And like they look at me like I'm some kind of Gandalf figure, like, can you? I'd love that. Do it now. Because we're so caught in the relentlessness of work, we haven't even got the time to know better. So guess what? Like, our use of Microsoft technology has a really nice hallmark of how we used it in 2001. Yet it's 2025. I go into organizations and say, how are you using MS Teams? Guess what they tell me? For video calls. I'm like, it wasn't really built for that. It was built as a counter for Slack with threads and open communication, and they bolted Skype's video onto it to make it more useful during COVID. And all we do is we use the video bit, right? So this is where, because we don't know better, we can't do better. So this is another way of saying do more with less is poppycock. It's rubbish. Okay, but what can we do? So this industry, the benefits industry, and how we can show a duty of care, look after people, give them what they want, ease some pressure, and also, guess what, help a bit more prosperity for all, is worth a lot in value. So I did a little bit of market share analysis. Like, look at the top number there, 232.61 billion and worth 407 billion by 2032. There is a lot of money invested in benefits. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about my first ever kind of coming across of corporate benefits. I can't even remember who the provider of it was. But my HR director at the time used to have this thing. He would come out of his office, he would have a piece of paper in his hand, and he would sort of show it to the team. And after a while, we got used to it. Oh, it's another policy, isn't it? He was almost like saying, I've written another one, he said. And it's almost like, okay, that's about the 45th this month. So I don't know where this is going, but whatever. Anyway, he came out and said, I've got you all benefits. I'm like, oh, great. What's that look like then? So it was a package. You had to sign on. I don't know about you, right? But it was something else I had to do. So guess what I did? Absolutely nothing with it. Guess what? I lost out on some of those amazing value figures, because I tell you why, it wasn't anything that I could use. It wasn't built for me. It wasn't talking to my benefits. It was all about saving money in shops I never ever went into, and gyms I never went to, as you can probably tell, right? But there's definitely something in the fact that my first experience of a benefits package was, is that it? I also, to be fair to the benefits industry, had a taste card with my bank account one time. I used it once. So, you know, some people are probably really good at this. I'm just not, right? But I don't think I'm an outlier. I think I'm just a person who doesn't know better and can't do better, because the stuff didn't always tick my box. But there's a lot of boxes being ticked with the benefits industry now. I suspect we're on the threshold of this having even more meaning and likelihood of driving prosperity for all. So if we look at the potential that somebody could save at an individual level, it's a kind of eye-watering number, right? I mean, these are US dollars, and again, you can probably tell from the table, my AI sidekick helped me with some of this information. That's a lot of money per year that somebody could go, oh, wow. It's not like the money is deposited in my bank account, but it's money that's not going out of my bank account if I can get hold of some of these things. And of course, not all of them are individual. Some of them are the team and the organization. But I mean, you know, every dollar, cent, penny, euro counts, right? So if that's the case, what does that kind of look like when we consider the total economic value that could be derived from a kind of prosperity for all sense within the benefits industry? And the answer is, it's absolutely massive. Anything between 1.2 and $3.9 trillion annually created as value. Now, again, it's not the stuff you could get your wheelbarrow and fill it with cash and walk off with. It's not that kind of value, but it is value because it is hitting things that matter to people. If you're in the US and you're currently subject to the Dodge or whatever it's called, cull, first of all, what you're probably thinking is not just I've lost my revenue, but I've lost my healthcare as well. And I've lost the fact that I had a kinship and a camaraderie. All those things are disappearing. They all have value. How can you be prosperous when you don't think you can even look after yourself through the healthcare system? That's a massive, massive change to think about. There's a way to think about this, though, and figuratively opt out. Because as Sam Walton famously said during a recession, I was asked what I thought about it. I thought about it and decided not to take part. So there's kind of something nice about the sort of gloom and doom philosophy and saying, no, I'm not going to take part in that. I am going to subscribe to something that I want to be part of and drive. But I think we need to shift the dynamic and get people's thinking into a different space. So now for something completely different. If you're of a certain age, you'll get that. There'll be other people going, I better go onto YouTube or TikTok to find out what that is because I have no idea. It's John Cleese and Monty Python, right? So something completely different. This is what I'm thinking we should do. We should have benefits in the flow of life. What do I mean by that? We all know life has different episodes, chapters, instances, turnings, whatever it is. And if you've got this package of benefits, you probably kind of draw down on them now and then, but some things will hit you and you're like, is there a benefit for that? Because it should be in the flow of life. That's the sort of sense I'm getting here. So this is the sort of dream and aspiration that I reckon we can do both in this room, with our colleagues, and with the industry writ large across benefits, which is how can we do better, however, not more with less. The first thing is we've got to get the goal right about creating more value by positioning benefits in the flow of life. I don't want to be the sort of person to say again, a benefits package was something that was nice, but I didn't know how to use it. It didn't work for me, and so I didn't capitalize on that capital. So let's have a think about that. How do we do it, though? How do we do it? So the reason there's a maze on here is part of the reason I didn't take advantage of those benefits is because it was literally like navigating a maze. Log on here, member there, number there, card for this, log on for that. We all know that single sign-on is a bit of an ideal, right? Because like passwords are aplenty. So how do we do that? So I think we go from the benefits maze and there's this thing called an EAP. I'm going to kill that as soon as I can as well, because an employee assistance program sounds like I've broken down at the side of the road. Can I have some assistance? Can you tow me home? I'm not being too disrespectful here, right? But why would we call it that? Do you know what I mean? Why is it not something like a colleague participation program? Because there's a big clue in the title there. A, you're a colleague. C, there's a program, but B, participation. I still see a lot of people in the benefits industry who go, how can I market my benefits package better so I get better take up? I'm almost thinking, I'm not sure it's the marketing. Do you know what I mean? I think it's the fact that the product doesn't meet people in the flow of life, right? So that's where I really want us to get to. But please, can we have another name for employee assistance programs? I also want to ban the term induction, because that feels like you electrically charge people when they come into your organisation. And the big one I really want to get rid of, please help me get rid of probation. Like they're not criminals. Like, I know they're on trial, but that doesn't mean in a court of law. But anyway, get rid of employee assistance programs and have a more elegant and meaningful name. I'd love it. So what's our goal? What can we do? Here's almost like a pretend scenario. So I am dreaming a bit here, but I think it's possible. So here's how I want people to experience it. They sign into the HR portal. And I don't just mean they reluctantly sign into the HR portal. As soon as the coat's off and they're sat at the desk, they're like, can't wait to sign into the HR portal. Now that sounds like nuts, right? But I do want people to do that because there's so much good in it and it just gives them what they want. But anyway, we'll work on that later. And I've invented a new bot called Chat CPP, which is Colleague Participation Program. I don't know about you, but it is easy actually to program a bot to give it some information and get people to use it. So we could start that. Now, my team, only 6 of us in my team, we're all virtually remote, so we never really see each other. But every day we check in with this thing called art, We say, hello, good morning, everybody. I had a nice weekend, whatever. And then we go straight into this thing called art. We say, what did I achieve? What are my reflections? And what am I doing today? Now, I'm telling you now, it takes about 5 minutes. But I tell you what, I know exactly how my team feel. I know exactly what they're proud of. I know exactly how to give them recognition. I know exactly what they're reflecting on and what I can do. And I know exactly what they're up to today without sending them an email saying, send me 5 bullet points. You know what I mean by that, right? Yeah, yeah. We don't do that. And also, I think I'd love this thing to say to people, how's my energy? I don't know about you, but clearly I'm a bit energetic at the moment because I'm excited about all you here, right? But we all have a kind of, it's Tuesday or Wednesday, hump day or whatever it is. Oh, I'm not feeling it. But actually, it's almost like, well, what do I need from today then? Do I need a gentle day? Do I need a deep day? Do I need a creative day? Do I need to do a forward roll in the office? Do I need to have a flash mob or whatever it is, right? But how's my energy? I want to know how my energy is. I want to know how other people's energy is because I want to know whether I've got to lift people up or be delicate with them or whatever it might be. What's on my mind? What am I thinking about? I don't know about you, but I'm thinking a lot about things like the absolute shit show that was in the White House the other day. I'm sort of thinking about that a lot, going, how on earth is that not actually a Saturday Night Live comedy sketch and it was real life? Who will I link with today? Who am I going to talk to? Who can I influence? Who can influence me? What can I give them? What can I get from them? What is going on with who I'm going to be with today? But also this, what am I grateful for? There's this kind of positive psychology tool, isn't there, where you do 3 things and you kind of talk about 3 positive things. But I think there's something so humbling about just sitting in that for a while going, yeah, what am I grateful for? At the moment today, I'm grateful for you because you're giving me fantastic attention. And you're laughing at the things I'm not sure whether you would laugh at. So I'm grateful for that. I'm just grateful for all the people who got me here today. I'm grateful for the fact that I got here on a train safely. Stuff like this changes how you view the world. And how will I feel fulfilled today? How am I going to know that at the end of the day, I smashed it? Not that horrible, what did I do look at the diary thing. Some people say, what did you do yesterday? Sometimes I have to go back and look at my diary and think, oh yeah, that. It was only yesterday. How did that happen? Now, I also think there's a lovely thing it could do with prompts. Wouldn't it be nice if your calendar didn't just say you got to meet them and got to sort that out, but don't forget the school play's happening. Don't forget, it's your partner's big day tomorrow, they need a little kind of pick you up. Oh yeah, I've got to pay that bill. Yeah, I've got a yoga class tonight. This is what I mean, right? We are so almost entrapped by our work technology. Why don't we break out of it a bit and give it some of us? Give it our flow as well, because it stops us having 14 devices on the go for a start. But there's just something about this is us, right? We don't step over the threshold of work or log in and suddenly become the job description. That's another thing I want to get rid of, by the way, a job description. But we don't. We're still us. And we still have all the foibles and the needs and the challenges. And we still have stuff going on. At my little organisation, we tried unlimited leave. Don't do that. It's really challenging. But what we've done is we've flipped it. We still don't have a quota, but we've called it life-friendly leave. So whenever you want time off, you just have life-friendly leave. That's what we call it. It's not a duvet day. It's not a doctor's appointment. We don't need to know the details. It's life-friendly leave, because that's what you're doing. You're taking leave to be friendly to the life. So that's stuff that we can do to reframe this. And then how are we going to get it in? Well, the reason I've got this in is because at the minute I'm formatting the last part of writing this book. 71,565 words I've put into this, right? And it's all about a new model for HR. Now, I don't know about you, but not many people, if you say, tell me about an HR operating model, will get even mildly excited. They'll normally look at you and go, can we talk about something else like voodoo or weirdness? Because that's too weird, right? But in an HR operating model, I think we've got some clues about how we can help create benefits in the flow of life, prosperity for all. Sciences. There are so many sciences that tell us what people respond well to, how people know how to phrase things and frame things so actually they're meaningful for people and they give them the right kind of kick, but we don't always use them. We definitely need better products in HR. And some of that is how we package benefits. Some of that is how we get people to access them, how they proliferate, how they share. But just all the things we do for people ought to be as if they were buying it from us and they have to invest in it, would they? Most policies, they would probably pay you not to have to do and follow, but we want to change that. We want to create products that people are really like, yeah, I want that, I like that. Log on to the portal and be happy. Processes are crucial, right? We've got to get really good at that. And we need people who can analyse data trails and sentiment and so on to loop back to the science, saying this is how we design benefits in the flow of life. This is how we get people to be absolutely, unbelievably positive about the fact that they can save themselves about £11,000 a year perhaps through us. Link it to performance data and report it as prosperity measures. There's something about the fact that at the moment, benefits feels a little bit like the little bit of parsley on the side of your plate that you don't know whether it's decoration or you should eat it. You know, you eat the eggs and you eat the whatever, and the parsley just stays there. It's like, I'm sure it's got a benefit, but I'm not quite sure whether do you know what I mean? It's that. So I think we need to link people using benefits, feeling better about life and their performance. Because there is a causal trail here, but we just can't get our hands on it quite enough. So we ought to be able to do that. And then I think we report back up to our organisation, not just our engagement score is 67%, and we want to get it to 72%, like, because you never want to hit 69%, do you? Because fanar. Right? So it's like, that doesn't matter. How do our people feel about working here? How do our people show they care about each other? How do they do things voluntarily in the community? How do they do things to promote working here? All of that sentiment, all of that stuff, that's what being prosperous looks like. Because I'm telling you now that the science and the research I've seen will point to the fact that if people have a very positive, strong, and almost happy attachment to their place of work, guess what happens to the performance of that organisation? It doesn't dip, I'll give you a clue. It goes up and it stays up. This is not something that needs to be ridiculed. This is proven stuff, and I think we've got a chance to do that. So, 13 minutes left and we've got time for questions, so we're doing all right. So this is kind of my summary. We've got to design this stuff with people. So this is not do more with less. This is not saying we're going to paper over the cracks that we can't give you a pay rise by giving you an apple a day or something. It's not that, right? It is, what do you want? How can we get you it? And how is it easier for you to weave into your life? So that we get to know what is the flow of people's lives, and then we can really say our benefit platform is absolutely like nuclear. It is on fire. It is driving all sorts of savings. And we need it integrated in our workflow tech. We do not need we probably will have 74 tabs open. And like, where's that one? Oh, I'll open another one. You know how it goes. We want it like workflow tech and all this stuff just comes in seamlessly. So people have one place to play and all to gain. That's what I'm thinking, because £3.9 trillion distributed across a lot of people in the workforce, that'd be pretty nice, wouldn't it? So let's do more of that. And therefore that is doing better. However, that's the team. We collect badges, as you can see. We got 12 minutes and 40 odd seconds. This is the work we do. I don't like things like job descriptions because I'd rather us describe ourselves as a constellation. So there you go. Hannah, I think we're okay for questions. So thanks ever so much for listening so far. Lovely to hear from what you say. And thanks online. Hannah, back to you. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you. We have had a few questions come into the chat. The first one was, Perry.
Yes.
How do I join your team?
Oh.
That wasn't me. That came from...
was it? Oh, okay.
Just to clarify.
There is an answer to that, which is bring us a couple of clients and you're in.
There we go. Referrals. Okay, so the next one is, what are your thoughts on employers mandating more days in the office and linking that with perceived impact on flexibility and total reward?
It's rubbish. I'll just give you that as a headline, right? So don't do it. However, I get why, because we are starting to think, oh dear, there's a costly real estate thing, we better fill it up with people. I'll just address that one, right? Most offices are empty on Saturdays and Sundays, yeah? What does it matter if it's empty for another couple of days? It's not going to change the lease, is it? Like, why are we so worried about whether it's occupancy? Because for 2 days a week, it's never been occupied anyway. So that's a myth. Mandating anything, don't do that. Kind of go with, what do we need to do? How do we make this work? And I think the problem with top-down direction is that people don't get it. But if it's like, how would you like to do it? And will that work with all the moving parts we've got bottom up? I'd do that. I'd turn it over to teams and people to say, and you're probably saying, oh, it's going to be chaos. Not if you give them a little bit of parameters and a little bit of guidance and stuff. But I'm telling you now, top down is a tug of war. They're not going to win. I'll just put that there.
Lovely. Thank
All right.
you. The next one is, you mentioned, and there's a lot about this out there, using science.
Yeah.
Which sciences would you recommend people read up on and use in their...
Yeah. We have an incredibly complex relationship with money. There are lots of ways to unpack the psychology and the sciences about our attachment to money. Because I think we need to bottom that stuff out and understand why some people are frightened of it, why some people covet it, why some people just give it all away. So there's some science on that, there's some psychologies on that. But I think anything that talks to how do you get people to just connect better? So expectancy theory and social kind of sciences that will tell you, like, how do you make the magic? How do you make the secret sauce? Because it answers that question about the mandate in Office too. So use your AI sidekick and kind of go, look, are there some sciences on this and this and this? And it will find it for you. And, you know, I'm not suggesting that you have to suddenly become a therapist and practice on people. That might be a bit dangerous and illegal, perhaps. But I think we can stack ourselves up with some sciences that we go, that we need to look at what that looks like. Now, you're not going to say to people, I've got a science, here's what it is. You convert the science into things you do and say and actions and gifts and so on and frames. I think that's how we do it. The one thing I will say is most exec boards aren't scientists. So this is where we can have a slightly knowledge advantage over our execs. Because if we go in with science, normally they're not that clued up on it and they can't like argue against science. Well, they might try. But I think it's a way of leveraging a bit of influence if we go in with, we haven't got the data, but science says. And if science says what decisions are being taken, maybe we won't have to have such crappy mandates on getting back to the office. So there's just an example.
Great. And if we need a reference, we can do Tim's P 2025.
You can do that.
There we go.
I'm happy with that.
So the next one is, what advice do you have for HR professionals to ensure that reward and benefits stays where it should be at the top of our priority list, given all the other HR specialisms and organisational stuff there is to deal with? So I love the thought of work being an extension of who you are on purpose, right? But that doesn't pay the bills. Money does. And economic transactions are an incredibly important part of why people go to work. So there's science that says if we're underpaid, that's the thing that annoys us the most because we feel undervalued by it. And when we do comparison stuff, if we know that there are people getting more for us than doing less, like guess what? We suddenly come down to their level of operation and socially loaf and don't work so well. So that's why it's important. All of this stuff adds up to, are we creating the conditions where people don't have to think and worry about financial reward? If the answer to that is yes, all the science tells you that's when purpose comes in. That's when autonomy comes in. That's when togetherness comes in. That's when I want to do a great job and not a rubbish one comes in. But we've got to take it off of the kind of interference. So if execs are arguing why it's important, it's like, okay, you want people to, you know, kind of walk around with interference and distraction and so on. Good luck with that, because they'll make mistakes, they'll drop the ball, and it won't be a good place to be. Let's get that one top of mind. Everybody comfortable with it. Everybody knows how to use it. Bang, we liberate people. That's what I'd say to that. Great. And in terms of if we were to say that to our board, how would we demonstrate that projected ROI? That is how we operate. We've got the money sorted.
So there are some correlations and stuff like that. I mean, there's something interesting about executive compensation that I'm not afraid to say, which is A, it's too big, and the gap between executives and other people needs a lot more closing down, right? It is perverse sometimes how much people at the top of the tree are getting. But, you know, they've got expensive... No, that's just too much. It's just too much. So one of the metrics I'd like to bring in is how much of what you get would you be willing to give for a better share and a fairer share across the rest of the organisation? That's the most telling thing you can ever ask an exec. And if they're like 1%, do you know what? They're not going to miss that 1%, but that could trickle through to a lot of good things that you could do for people. So that's a metaphorical, not an actual thing you'd want to do, but it's a test of their relationship with performance and reward, right? It's like, I'm doing this for the nobleness of the company. Yes, my pockets are going to be lined, but if I can give some of that so that the other people feel that, that's a magnanimous gesture. I'd want to work for people who would do that for me. But I think there is this causal trail between how do we show that we look after people in all dimensions, and how does that track against our performance? That stuff exists. Alex Edmonds has done it. Mariana Mazzucato has done it. There are economists who've proven this can work. And so just draw that in.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. We have also got, how can we use leaders to challenge and change organisational culture and remove politics and start moving HR away from policy and regulation to supporting humans? Yeah,
so I've got one client at the moment. I won't say who they are. And they have something like 149 policies. So honestly, it's baffling. And the reason they've got 149 policies is because every time there's been either a tribunal or something's gone wrong, guess what? They said, HR, put me a policy in. So what happens with policies now? People are like, I don't even know where to start. So they have said to the executives, we don't care what you want to do, but we're going to get these down to 50. What's the 50 that matter most to you? And they're asking the same question about the 50 that matter most to people. And what's really telling is that the ones that matter to people and the ones that matter to execs generally aren't different. How do we look after ourselves? How do we make sure governance is imbued so people feel safe and protected by this organisation? So none of it is how do I punish? How do I get more out? They're all about holding the kind of sanctity of what they've got there. And so I think let's use that test. Let's go, if we got rid of them all, what would we have to reintroduce just to keep it safe and legal and smart for people? And you'd be surprised, it would thin it out immensely. But I think the crucial thing for us is drafting those policies as if people were like, I'm really glad we've got that policy, because I can't remember the last time I ever heard anybody say that. And we want them to say that. That looks after me, that looks after them, that looks after us. That's where I'd go to move a dial from policy almost like armour that doesn't help you run very fast to a policy sponsored by a sportswear brand, Lycra or otherwise, right? Just think Usain Bolt, right? Yeah.
Great, and we've got time for one more.
Oh,
so, you mentioned you forward roll in the office if it's a bad day.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're having a great day?
Oh, what a lovely thought. I don't do anything that physical, actually. But I tell you what, the team and I have got good at. The team and I have got good at knowing that when you're sharing something that's great, it ain't a brag. It's not a kind of look at me. It's a kind of aren't we great? So we've got very good at sharing things that we're really proud of. I mean, there's no doubt that when I'm on Slack tomorrow, I'm going to be saying how good it was here today because it's felt brilliant for me and you've been great. And the team will know it's not like, oh yeah, he's good, he can command us. No, it's because they cheer me on. They cheer when we're winning, right? All of us. So I think that's what I'd say to that. Just get good at cheering when you're winning. So that's what I like to do. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I think we're not so good at doing that, are we? We're good at moaning, but we're not so good at cheering when we're winning. So I absolutely love that.
Can I ask you, audience, one quick question?
Oh, of course you can.
Who's had a win in the last sort of 24 hours, like a good thing done or a helpful thing? Yeah. So let's give them a cheer and a clap, right? Go for it. Yeah. Feels good, right? Yeah. Nice. Shall I?
Brilliant. Go? Yeah, you can leave. That's Perry for you. Thank you, Perry. Huge round of applause.